Hey guys, today we are making so simple yet incredible creme brulee. First, heat water, and we're gonna use it later when we bake. I like to use a gently simmering water. And in a pot, add heavy cream, milk, use whole milk, and vanilla beans. So for creme brulee, just like pastry cream, I highly recommend using vanilla beans instead of vanilla extract if you can get, because it'll taste extra incredible with it. And I personally love Madagascar vanilla beans. It has such a sweet, exotic, vibrant smell. And add about half amount of sugar. By adding sugar, it'll prevent milk and heavy cream from bubbling out quickly. And heat it up at medium heat. And as soon as it started gently simmering like this, remove from the heat and place a lid on top or cover with something else and wait for 10 minutes to infuse the vanilla flavors to the liquids even more. Meanwhile, prepare your egg yolks. For creme brulee, yolks are so essential because it creates such a rich flavor and firm enough but melty texture. And add sugar to it. The liquids are ready, so add about 1/3 and mix until it looks even. And by now, the liquids are not too hot at all, so you don't have to worry about yolks getting cooked with heat. And gradually add the rest. And don't mix vigorously at this point. As you can see, you'll get a lot of bubbles no matter how gently you mix, but you do not want too much. And clean up the pot and scrape off all the vanilla beans and liquids. And in the very end, mix with the spatula to make sure that everything is even. And we're gonna strain it to get rid of all the solids, and it'll make extra smooth filling. And I personally like to push a little bit to release more vanilla beans. And the filling is complete. It's so simple. And if you see lots of bubbles here at this point, you can easily get rid of them by torching the surface. Just warm them up gently and try not to get too close. And for creme brulee, I like to use flat and wider ramekins. That way you can enjoy the crunchy caramel more. The filling is not going to be too thick, which is a perfect match with the thin layer of the caramel. And place a cloth under the ramekins. It'll help to deliver the heat more gradually as you bake them. Vanilla beans tend to stay on the bottom of the glass or bowl you're using to pour. So instead of pouring all the amount at once into one plate, save some room, come back and divide the rest. That way you can have the equal amounts of the vanilla beans for each plate. And if you see any bubbles on the surface at this point, warm them up with a torch, just like we did earlier. Now it's time to bake. And then you need to take a bath. Pour the hot water up to about 2/3 or a little over half of the heat. And this hot water really helps to deliver the heat gradually, and it really helps to create smooth, silky texture. With one batch of this recipe, you can use 5 plates with less amount or 4 plates with more amount, like this. With 4 plates, it took about 28 minutes, and with 5 plates, it took about 24 minutes with my oven. I'll adjust the time and temperature accordingly. When it's done, it should jiggle like this much. It's almost like a pudding or jello. And when I take them out, I take one plate out first. The water gets a little bit shallower, so it's a little bit easier for me. almost always I spill some water on the filling when I try to carry all of it at once. And after they are cooled enough, you can move it in the fridge and chill completely. I recommend chilling more than a few hours. Now let's finish it up by caramelizing the surface on top. Use slightly less than 2 teaspoons of granulated sugar for 5-inch ramekins and move it like this until it spreads evenly. And burn with the torch. Do this right before you serve so that the caramel stays crunchy. I usually start from one side and gradually move on as I see that caramelization is happening. And if I see any spots that I want to caramelize more, I go back and torch more. Try not to take too much time here so that the filling is not going to get heated too much. And wait for at least a few minutes before you eat them, unless you like a very warm filling. When you use much less sugar, you'll see more black spots. That means that the surface of the filling is cooked. The texture was nice, it was nice and crunchy. And when you use a lot more sugar, the color tends to get a little bit more uneven because it takes more time to caramelize. It's too crunchy, it's almost like eating candy and not that pleasant. You don't eat them right away or within that day. Wrap them tightly. You can store in the fridge for up to 4 days, maybe 5 days, but since it contains a lot of yolks inside, I would say 4 days. But ultimately, I highly recommend you to enjoy it within that day or the next day to enjoy the best taste and flavor. There are a couple reasons you can think of, but one of that is that the heat was too strong. When that happens, the filling kind of bubbles gently, and when it's really bad, you'll see a lot of air holes inside. Try to reduce the temperature and see if it solves the problem. And I would say the most common problem about creme brulee is that it did not set up. So try bake longer, like I showed you earlier, touch the ramekins and test. But creme brulee is something that even though you cook a little bit too much or a little bit too soft, its taste still amazing. And you practice sometimes and you exactly know what firmness you're looking for. Okay, so that's it for today. I think I covered most of the troubleshooting, but if I missed anything or you have additional questions, please drop on the comment section below and I'll try to answer as many as possible. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy pastry living and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.